What's going on, YouTube? In today's video, we're going to be jumping right into it. We're going to be going over the two Sakazuki deck lists that I have been primarily using over the past month or so since the release of the set. In the last video, I know that there was a lot of people that asked about what's the deck list that Noel's running, and so here today is the non-stage and the stage build that we're going to be going over. Starting off with the non-stage build here, a big difference that you guys are going to be seeing is obviously no event card, and instead we have the classic Ice Age Great Eruption combo here. This deck runs the traditional 4 Surus, 4 Rebeccas, 4 Tashigis, and 4 Brenus. That is all a staple in both versions of the deck. Where we start to see some variation is going to be the Helmeppo and Hina ratio, with it being 1-3 for Helmeppo and Hina, and then also the Kuzans with only 2 of them. As for the other blockers, we have Boris and Sabo being at 2, which you guys will be seeing varying in the stage build, and then of course 4 Virgos, which is going to be our other 2k counter, making it 8 2ks total with the Surus. The 4 Luchis is what we also traditionally see, and is a very strong combo with the Hina and the Rebecca since OP05, and of course the 2 7-cost Boris, which in NA, I feel like a lot of people are actually starting to cut. They don't really feel that it's a strong card, but Noel and me still believe that it is a very strong card, as you guys saw in the last video when going up against Moria, taking that odd curve right there. And since OP06 released, Moria is just too crazy of a card, and it is a given that we're going to be running 4. Finally, we have 4 Hound Blazes and 1 Sword, and I feel like with these events here, you can kind of adjust the ratios. I've seen some people run 3 Luchis, 4 Great Eruptions, 2 Swords, maybe 1 Boris. It really just depends, honestly. And same for your Helmeppo and Hina ratio. While there are a lot of staples in the deck, there are still flex spots that allow people to customize it and make the deck their own. Next up is going to be the stage variation, which is something that I've really been enjoying playing. It was nice being able to switch up the way that you play Sakazuki from OP05, as the previous build there was actually pretty similar to O5 except for adding the Moria. We still had the Great Eruptions and whatnot from last set. But here in the stage, it offered a whole new world of play lines, and honestly, I feel like it is insane to play with, especially when it is firing on all cylinders. Once again, we're going to be having our 4 Surus, 4 Rebeccas, 4 Tashigis, 4 Brenus. That is all a given right there. The searchers are so important in establishing characters on board, but also replenishing your hand and making sure that you keep cycling through your deck. With this variation of the build, we're running 2 Helmeppos and 4 Hinas, maxing out on the Hinas right there for the cost reduction, as we don't have those Ice Ages and the Great Eruption event cards in this deck. We also have 3 Kuzans, which are very important to be keeping alive and playing down, especially against yellow and even in black, even in those mirror matches and against Moria, where you think it might not stick, but there are a lot of times when that Kuzan, when it does stick, it does a ton of work. Noel giving me a little bit of shit for this. He runs 4 Virgos. I opted to run the 1 Gion and 3 Virgos. Gion looks a lot better. It's pretty much the same thing, and honestly, you guys gotta hear me out here. You can play Gion off of the Moria. You cannot play Virgo off of Moria. And so for those off times when you might not have a ton in the trash and you want to play down and establish the big body Moria, but you're uncertain as to what to pull, you can play Gion, establish that body. And it's also great into Nami as well. I actually got it off in a Nami match for the first time ever last week in a tournament, and it was just so satisfying. We then have 3 Luchis. The reason being is because we actually have 3 swords in here. So in a way, you could say that we have 6 Luchis, or 6 cards that can bounce or pop 2 characters, which is really nice compared to the previous deck list where it's going to be 5. 2 Sabos are going to be our only other blockers in this deck. There are no 4-cost Borses. It's actually not that great of a card, as I've been playing the set more and more and seeing how it does against other matchups. It's really only that great into Moria, and even then, still, I'd rather be playing other cards on my 4 Dawn turn, or later on in the game. Against yellow, against Perona, against Reiju, it just does not do that well. Even in the mirror match, it gets bounced, and so we opted to take it out completely, but we do still keep our 2 7-cost Bourses. It is a very strong card when playing against certain decks. Then, of course, the 4 Morias, 4 Houndblazes, the 3 swords that we talked about, and then the 3 stages. Overall, I gotta say, the deck is very fun to play. It is tough to learn at first, moving away from using those events like Ice Age and Great Eruption. That is very easy in a way. It's very forgiving, as how I would like to explain it. You can easily play those cards down, get the -2, get the -5, draw a card, you know. But the stage allows for way more plays and opens up a lot of other opportunities that you could do. So I would say definitely give it a try if you're on that edge there. And you guys will be seeing here me playing against Noel with this build. He's going to be playing as Moria, and I ended up taking the dub. And so I hope you guys enjoy the gameplay right here, and let's get right into it. So this video today is going to be a little bit different just because I had DMCA music playing during this game, and so it is completely muted. We won't be able to hear any of my thoughts or anything like that in the moment, but it is pretty cool because we get to review it now and see if my thinking has changed since the game here. And let's get right into it. I will probably mulligan this hand because no searchers. It was just like 3 events. And so I do get a Tashigi, which is nice. We are going second here. Joel is making us go second. So he got out the Sindri. We got Searcher, which I will probably play down. And only options are going to be 2Ks here. So we take the Suru, trash the Hina, and boom, we get a stage. So Tashigi stage, not too bad. In the last video, I did see one of the comments that talked about, do you want to play Tashigi and stage on your 2 Dawn turn, or do you want to play Branu if you have it? And honestly, play down that Branu. The reason being, not only do you establish a little bit of a bigger body there, but you can save your Tashigi for later on because it only costs 1 Dawn, and the stage as well. You can utilize that -2 reduction instead of just having it be 1 each turn. Just save it for later on. You don't need to play it because you're going to be cost reducing nothing there on that 2 Dawn turn if you do play it. I play it here in this situation just because it's the only thing, the only other option that I had. And so here, something that I've seen Noel do is he won't even worry about that Perona on the board. The 4 Dawn turn, he might even just play Kuzan, honestly. But we have multiple options that we could do here. We could swing 5 with Leader, reduce the cost of Perona, use Stage, and then we could Houndblaze, buff up the Tashigi, and swing 7. So that's a 5-7 swing. Or we can just swing 5 and play down the Kuzan, establish it. His following turn, which is going to be 5 Dawn. If he wants to use a Great Eruption or something like that, then he can. It kind of, you know, in a way, it's not too bad if he ends up doing that. But we'll see. We'll see what I end up doing here. And I do decide to play the Kuzan. I'm not stressing that Perona right there. It's not too bad being on the board. I'm trying to decide what do I want to trash here, and it's probably gonna be a Houndblaze. Pulling another Kuzan's not the greatest, but we'll make it work there. Oh, and so he drops the Helmeppo. For 2 Dawn, he drops Helmeppo. And then gets Absalom out with his Leader ability, swinging for 6. We decide to take it, going down to 2 life. I pull a 2K counter there for my draw. Not terrible. It's not bad. At least we get a little bit more counter here. Probably ditch the Kuzan. This is going to be our 6 Dawn turn. And so we got to figure out a way to get rid of his board here. I end up swinging 5. Reduce the cost of Perona. Probably stage as well. Reduce Perona again. Rebecca, Hina, and Sword, most likely. I think that's the play line that we have available here. I think that's what we're going to have to do. Establish a blocker as well. Protect myself a little bit from the swings coming forward, especially since I don't have a ton of counter in hand. It's going to be Noel's 7 Dawn turn. So he can establish 2 4-cost bodies on this turn. 3 Dawn for his leader ability, and then 4 more Dawn to play another 4-cost character out cold. And so he decides to swing 6 at my Hina, summoning the Hogback and taking a Moria from trash. So we decide to block it. Awesome. I wasn't expecting another swing there since there's going to be there's 4 Dawn left. Most likely he was going to be dropping a 4-cost body. I didn't think that he was going to be swinging 7, so just the free block right there was fine. You know, let Rebecca go. She's an easy target later on. Usually don't want to leave her on the field for too long. Then she doesn't end up getting value later on. If you know, you just leave her on the field, you're like, oh man, dude, at least I have this blocker, but then she can just get KO'd so easily. So 8 Dawn turn, instead of playing Moria, I decide to play the Tashigi, which I end up finding Sword, which is nice. Now let's see what I do here. Do I want to clear his 2 4-costs with the Sword? We will be able to clear both of the 4 costs using, yeah, it looks like I'm trying to set it up. I'm going to be swinging 7, reducing Hogback by 1, 2, playing the Hina, and then I'm going to be using Sword here, getting rid of both of the 4 costs. Not bad. Sometimes I do think that I should save the Sword for 10 Dawn turn, because I can definitely expect a Moria here. So he's using Great Eruption, and then he's gonna be dropping Moria. I think that, you know, sometimes I encounter that issue where I use Sword too early, and we've already used 2 swords, I believe. So we'll see what he does here, but most likely he does Moria. I mean, he pulled Moria from Hogback. So here we go, good old Moria gaming. And so Lucci and Branu getting rid of my Hina and Tashigi. He ends up pulling Ice Age from it, so we do know that he has an Ice Age, which is, that's scary, man. That's crazy cost reduction. But it's all good. It's all good. We got 2 Morias in hand. We got cost reducers in our trash. I can put the Helmeppo in trash. We can use leader ability, trash the Helmeppo. Do Moria, Rebecca, Hina. Along with the Helmeppo there as our 2-cost character. I think that's what we're going to have to do. Unless because we do have the option to subtract, to get a -2 cost reduction with leader ability and stage. We don't need to be, you know, overkill with the Helmeppo. We can just do Hina -2 with leader and stage, and then Houndblaze buffing up my Tashigi. That is another option. It looks like I'm gonna be swinging 5 here. I didn't want to swing into life, because I didn't want to trigger an Ice Age or something that just KOs my Tashigi. Wanted to play it safe, also remove some of his board. But it definitely is a fine line that we're walking on, because as Sakazuki players, we want to pressure the Moria. We can't get stuck. We can't get locked in on this game of just removing board, because at the end of the day, they do have the advantage of life, which also usually means that they have the advantage on resources in their hand because they have more life. But in this situation, I did decide to clear the Branu and the Moria. But not too bad. We do have Rebecca on the field as our blocker, which can help. He's just using his little weenies to clear my board here. We're just trading, pretty much like I think about it like in chess, you know? Chess, we're trading pawns. So that's all good. Now we're going to see, does he get out the Moria? A second Moria here. Are we going to see Ice Age Moria action? We can skip through a little bit here. He opts to swing 5 with his leader. There's only Absalom in his trash. There's no Lucci, which is good, meaning that he would only be KOing 1 character. So I decided to counter out of that 5 swing, because I was like, man, he's going to leave 9 Dawn up. So the 7K swing, read it correctly, block with the Rebecca. He Ice Ages, drops down the Absalom, and then he's going to drop down another cost reducer there to bring it down, KOing my Moria. And in my mind, I'm like, all right, that's fine. I have a body, a decent body that stays out on the field, which is Hina. That's awesome. Rebecca's also in my trash again, which allows me to summon her and play down the Hina from my hand. I can always draw back a 2K from that. And we do have Helmeppo. So we're in a solid position here to do some more removal. And so I end up, as you guys can see here, I end up cycling the Hina, and I pull a Hina, which is the classic. That is an absolute classic right there. When you want to trash a card from your hand and you end up pulling the same card from it, it's just like, golly. So I end up swinging 5, use the stage to reduce the Moria by 2. We had cleared the Helmeppo there. And then once I bounce the Moria, we're going to be swinging Hina at the Lucci. So the Hina is going to be buffed up to 8. I do end up taking Branu off of Tashigi. And so this is where I'm really contemplating is like, do I want to take the Hina and play it? And I believe the reason why that I do that is because I want to have that Hina, that other Hina in hand as another cost reducer if he does play the Moria. I can always try to find another piece of removal. As long as I have that cost reduction, then I'm pretty solid there. You know, it's always interesting trying to think like how I did previously after, you know, more gameplay and whatnot, but I feel like I've been making good plays, which I'm pretty surprised about, honestly, and I can see and understand why I made those decisions. So he decides to go 6 at the Hina with his Lucci. I counter out there. I really want to keep my board for this turn because I want to pressure him. I really want to be able to pressure him here, so we're just using our resources from hand. And he does end up playing another Moria there. We're currently at 2 cards apiece, 2 life each. It's crazy. This has been a back and forth game here. And not enough cost reduction for him. So now this is a very pivotal turn right here. It's, do we want to focus on board some more, or do we want to go for his life? And I feel like even though he has more characters, we're actually in a decent position here to be able to set us up for the finishing blow. And so we can get rid of his Moria. That's a for sure. Hina with leader ability and stage would allow us to get rid of his Moria. Using that Hound Blaze to buff up our either Tashigi or Hina. I can also play the Branu to search some more. I mean, overall, the 3 cards in hand are going to be costing 7 Dawn. So that leaves us with 3 more Dawn to play around with, which is not too bad. Him having only 2 cards in hand, most likely I'll be able to clear the majority of his board. If I only leave 2 of his characters up, he can't go for lethal. He cannot go for game there. And I think we're going to be going for board here. I think that's going to be the play. But I'm curious to see if I play the Branu. I think we gamble as well. Might as well. Let me know in the comments what you guys think you'd be doing in this situation before you get further on in the video. So we could go for board, leaving him with only 2 characters up, or we could go for a game here. Because I have 3 pretty large swings, he only has 2 cards in hand. We could pressure and go for game. Going for game would mean we go 9, 10, 11 with the Hound Blaze. And that's always a little bit of a risk. Definitely a little bit of a risk. But we will see what happens here. Oh, I think I remember now. Chat ended up telling me to go for game. Chat was like, don't be a pussy, bro. And they said, go for game, which, okay, so we'll, you know, I'll tell you guys here. Noel said that I should have gone for the safer play, which was to clear the board. I remember asking chat about this, and I was like, hey, man, you know, you guys think we go for game? You guys think we just go for his board? I was like, man, I think going for board is better. But chat was like, don't be a pussy, bro. And we ended up taking it. We end up taking it there, which is awesome. But it's definitely a safer bet because he wouldn't have been able to clear all of my characters. Him having only 2 characters and 2 cards in hand, we would have been able to still win. So as you guys see here in the chat there, he said shouldn't have gone for game. You can clear Moria, clear 4 on board, and then you win next turn. And yeah, it's crazy. Can't believe that I won that game against Noel. It was such a cool back and forth. Honestly, just really proud of how I played there. And I'm glad that I was able to showcase it for people in chat, for people in the community, and as well as for you guys now on YouTube. Hopefully you guys can learn from it. And I'm still learning as always. So thank you so much for supporting the video. So if you guys enjoyed it, go hit that like button, comment down below, subscribe if you haven't done so already. We do have YouTube memberships as well, which helps supports me and continuing to create content. And as always, keep on playing and stay winning.